Okay, now we have a situation where an airliner flies 3,240 miles in 4 hours going with the wind, but it's on its return trip it took 5 hours to only go 3,150 miles, flying against that same wind. What is the wind speed? Okay, to answer this question, let's let R equal the speed of the plane, of the airliner, with no wind. That's how fast it can go with no wind. And let W equal the speed of the wind. Okay, we know that rate times time equals distance. And so the rate of the plane flying with the wind is the speed of the plane without any wind plus the speed of the wind. So that'll be R plus W. The time it took was 4 hours to go 3,240 miles. So there's our first equation. And fighting against the wind, the plane would go the speed it could go with no wind minus the speed of the wind, because the wind was in the opposite direction. And it took 5 hours to go 3,150 miles. So we have these two equations. If I divide the first equation, both sides of the first equation, by 4, that's to cancel out the 4. And the second equation will divide both sides of it by 5 to cancel out the 5. Then we can eliminate W very easily and solve for R. So this division results in R plus W, because the 4's cancel, equals 3,240 divided by 4 is 810. And dividing the second equation by 5, the 5's cancel, leaving R minus W. And 3,150 divided by 5 leaves 630. So if we now add these two equations, the W's will cancel. And we're left with 2R is equal to, this adds up to 1,440. So if we divide both sides by 2, we find that R, the speed of the plane with there's no wind, is 720. So this airliner flies at 720, and that's in miles per hour, or miles divided by hours. But recall, the problem was asking what's the wind speed. It wasn't asking how fast the airliner could fly with no wind. But that's okay. We can now find what the wind speed is from any of the earlier equations. This is probably the easiest one to use. So I'm going to take this equation and combine in that we now know that R equals 720. So the equation becomes 720 is R plus W equals 810. So all we have to do is subtract 720 from both sides. And we find the difference is 90. So the wind is blowing at a rate of 90 miles per hour. And the airliner was flying at 720 miles per hour. But this is what the problem was asking for, the wind speed, 90 miles per hour.